Welcome to Classic Car Cave once again. So I got quite a few comments on the last video, and views are definitely going up a little bit, not much. Okay, so I thought what I'd do is just kind of explain, because some of you guys who have come in now won't have seen this right from the start when I very first picked it up from this apple barn of a friend of mine. So the original idea was, the reason I got the vehicle in the first place, I didn't even know about it, is I had an old Doka, a double cab, I think T35 I think it was a double cab one with a pickup back on it, but it was knackered, it was absolutely shot. But it was a four-wheel drive system that was on it, which are quite sought after, and we used it for many years in the garden. We built a tray for the back of it, and we used it for cutting all the grass, or not the grass, but the cutting all the bushes and trees, and we shoved all the shit on the back of it. It wasn't on the road, of course, and we brought it down here and popped it on the trailer ready for shipping off to the local council tip. Anyway, the guy that owned this vehicle came to me and asked me if he could buy the running gear. He had a T35, I think it's a T35, and he's turned it into a caravan, but he wanted the four-wheel drive running gear, which is obviously worth something, and it had a good engine in it with a turbo on it. So I had a look around at his place and I found this, and we ended up doing a straight swap for it. So theoretically I paid €100 for this, because that's what I paid for the Doka 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. I think it was 5 years back. So yeah, effectively it's cost me €100. So as I said before, I've got the chassis number and I've got the body number, the engine and gearbox number, and I will go to Citroën with it, but I'm due to go to Dubai for 2 weeks with my wife on the 16th of this month, so I'm not going to have a lot of time. But that 2 weeks will give me time to sit by the pool, drink a few beers and a few cocktails, and think about what I really want to do with it. So the initial idea was to replace the Doka and just put a tray on the back of this, which I kept. Put a tray on the back of this and make it look reasonable, so I could still put it up in my main garage with my other cars, and it wouldn't look so much out of place, but use it in the garden as well. And since then I've been thinking, well, is there a possibility I could get it registered as a U11 A series A, and if that is possible and I could get some paperwork for it, perhaps then I could turn it into a hot rod. Or if that's not possible here, I would then probably just turn it into a hot rod and just use it in the garden and take it to shows maybe, which seems an awful lot of work for not a lot, but we'll see how it goes. So there's a lot of parameters here. There's a lot of, can I do this, can I do that, will this work, will that work? But the bottom line is the cab and everything still has to go on straight, so there's weeks worth of work ahead of me to get that, and Amir when he gets back, to get this thing straightened up. So I won't be cutting anything until I've got this thing as reasonably as I can. So what I'll show you now is what I'm up to today with Play-Doh, and I've used this Play-Doh technique for many years. I did the E-types with it. I've done just about every car I've had. I've used this Play-Doh for getting panel alignment. Now that might sound a bit weird, so I'll show you exactly what I mean. So this is a standard Play-Doh +2. It's about right for somebody who plays in the garage, and this is the equivalent in Austrian or German. So I've got this seal on it just to try it. It's a seal off, I don't know what it's off, I think it's off a bootleg, off a Mini. But what I can do is, if that doesn't work, I can just put the Play-Doh in a big ball like this one here and just put it on and then push down the metal, and it will go to roughly where I want it to be. And it gives you an idea of then the thickness you need of the rubber, and it keeps the standoff right for here. So what I'll do is I'll just put the bonnet back on and we'll see where we are fit wise. So what I have done is I've cut off the tack welds that I had here and over there, and you can see obviously that distance now is massive, but this has become more upright now, even though this chassis is on a slight angle. So obviously this piece here is not going to be perfectly flat. It's going to have a very slight tilt on it, 1 degree or less, and that's going to put a degree into that. But as you can see there, it still will all fit together. But I just want to make sure that this is right before I re-tack it again. you can see I put that Play-Doh in there. I've had to tape it down because it's obviously, this is too flat. It needs the bend putting back in it. But you can see that's a much better fit now than it was. And no problem at the front. As you can see, I can bring this right in and you can see that's a nice curve all the way down. So I think really, like I said, I need to get this bonnet straightened up. I need to get this work on this hinge, and then I can work on the rest of it. So I think that's the key, is get this bonnet secured, get it on, and yeah, I think we're kind of getting there. But after saying that, this window is definitely down at an angle, but whether they were like that or not, I don't know. The problem is the chassis is tapered as well. What I will do though, somebody made a good suggestion, I'll put it up on axle stands and try and square it up, but you can physically see that it does go down on an angle. And it wouldn't make sense where I've got it now, because if you look at the door openings there, sorry, the chain's in the way. But if you look at those door openings there now, even though they're shot, you can see they're almost parallel to that chassis, or roughly the same distance away, which they weren't. They were hanging down, the back of the doors were hanging down past that, and the same here. So I think we're not far off it. Still a lot of work to do, but we're definitely getting better. So yeah, I think I need to play with this bonnet, this top piece, and what I'll do is I'll try to get this main pin hinge out the center, and then I'll put, because the idea is obviously these two can fold up onto the side there, but that's no problem with that cowling. I can easily move this around. There's loads of movement in it, as you can see here. There's loads of movement in there. Sorry about that. Yeah, but there is loads of movement in there, so that's not a problem. Okay, let's crack on. I'm taking the rod there, the hinge rod out, which I cleaned up earlier, and you can see I just bent that over my knee a little bit, and you can see that's already much better. Definitely. And as I say, this radiator is not even attached. It's not even attached. So I need to get that sorted out, but I'll have to get some new nuts for it. But it will. I can bring this in place. Yeah. And see it'll be a good fit there then. Yeah. Okay. Try the other panel. Okay, so I'm taking this completely seized hinged off this bonnet. So I have to do quite a bit of repair to the edge of the bonnet, but this thing is absolutely, it's just a massive piano hinge. It's solid as a rock. There's no way I'm getting that apart. So I'll have to make something or get a massive piano hinge. A big one though, that'll take a rod like that. You can see I got most of it off. It's just a few places where it's been tack welded. Here. I think there's one here. The rest are riveted. So I'll carry on and try and get this apart. I've got most of it off. That one's off now. Yeah. It's a big one here. A couple of tacks there. One there and one there by the looks. That seems to be off. Yeah. The rust, I guess, as well. So I'll get that off, straighten that edge up, that flange up, and see where we are. Well, that was an absolute son of a bitch to get off that hinge. I had to use the hole opener to get it off. There were so many tack welds that were rusted. So what I'll do is I'll clean up that flange. It's going to have to be taken off anyway, probably. It's so badly damaged. And so that is just absolutely solid, that scrap. But I can make a new piece. I can recreate it with a new hinge. That was hard. You can see the amount of rust that's on it. But I'll flatten it out just now so I can put the two bits of bonnet together. I'll see where we are. Oi! It's Saturday afternoon now, so I can't really do any more knocking or banging, and it's Sunday tomorrow, so it'll just be a quiet day. So, you can see that is much. You can see that's much better now. And this line, this swedge line, is pretty good, but there's something sticking out there. You can see it fits now, at least. So, we're getting somewhere. And you can also see the same this side. It's definitely better than it was. And that bit fitted quite well down there as well. It's a nice gap on it, but it also needs a proper rubber in it. You can see it, I mean, that should obviously come up more like that. But we're definitely near it.